Welcome to the Tiger Talks. This is our legendary staff edition. My name is Robbie Barber, and I am the Director of Diversity and Inclusion here at Georgetown College. And I've had the pleasure of working with Georgetown College and working at Georgetown College for 20 years. And I have greatly enjoyed the opportunity to work with all of our panelists tonight. We will begin with me introducing our panelists with our current bios. The first person will be Kimberly Chandler. Kimberly is originally from Paris, Kentucky. She is a 2010 graduate of Georgetown College, and she's a 2013 graduate of the University of Dayton School of Law. She was admitted to the Kentucky Bar in the fall of 2013 and began working as the Assistant Director of Athletics for Compliance at Georgetown College in January of 2014. Kim and her husband, Kent, have one dog, one cat, and they live here in Georgetown. Our next panelist is Mr. Johnny Johnson. Johnny is originally from Chicago, Illinois. He is a 1997 graduate of Cornell College. Johnny has had a full career in admissions, serving for over 20 years in various capacities, from the Director of Multicultural Recruitment and Operations to Vice President. He served as the Director of Admissions at Georgetown College from 2005 to 2011. Johnny is the Vice President for Admissions at Transylvania University and has been at Transylvania University for 9 years. He is a member of the Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity and serves on the board of the YMCA of Central Kentucky's Black Achievers Program. Our next panelist is Mr. James Keppe, better known as Keppe. He's originally from Bethel, Ohio. He came to Georgetown College as a student in 1991 and graduated in 1995, then going to the University of South Carolina for his master's in higher education. He returned to Georgetown in 1997 and worked in student life in various roles for the next 17 years and was serving as the Associate Dean of Students when he left Georgetown College. He now lives in Springfield, Illinois with his wife, Gretchen Lohman, and their 2 children, Maya and Sean. Keppe serves as Director of Campus Recreation at the University of Illinois, Springfield, where he's been there for 7 years. Our next panelist is Mr. Jason Snyder. Jason is originally from Louisville, Kentucky. He is a 2010 graduate of Georgetown College. Jason received his Master's of Education in Educational Policy with a focus in Global Studies from the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign in 2015. He is currently pursuing a Doctorate of Education in Leadership for Organizations from the University of Dayton. His expected graduation date is 2022. Jason has served at Georgetown College for just over 10 years in study abroad, international student services and recruitment, and academic leadership. Jason presently serves as the Associate Dean for Academic Services and Registrar at Georgetown College. He and his partner, also a fellow GC alum, live in Lexington, Kentucky. Welcome, you guys, to our Legend Tiger edition tonight. I'm excited to hear what each one of you all have to say. I'm looking forward to your answers to our questions. And I'm going to begin with a question that I want each one of you all to answer. And we will start in this order with Johnny, Kimberly, Jason, and then Keppe, okay? So how did you become connected with Georgetown College?
So I graduated from college in 97, and I was a tour guide when I was a student at my alma mater, Cornell College. And my boss, who was my tour guide manager, took a job at Georgetown 3 years later in 2000 and called me and said, hey, would you like to come down to Kentucky and work with me at Georgetown? And I did. And that was my initial connection with Georgetown. So from 2000 through 2011, as my tenure there, it all initiated from a connection I had back in my alma mater as a tour guide. Yeah.
Hey, Johnny, who was that?
Brian Taylor.
Okay, yeah.
Brian Taylor. He worked here, I guess, from 2000 to about 2004, maybe. Yeah.
Brian, yeah.
Yep.
Interesting. Okay, Miss Kimberly.
So as a high school student, I had a small list of colleges that I was interested in. Some of those were very similar to Georgetown. Some of those were not at all. My parents were really pushing me to attend Georgetown, which is much of the reason why I did not initially want to attend Georgetown. But I'll never forget coming on my overnight visit to Georgetown on Super Bowl Sunday, my senior year, and I just fell in love with the campus community, and it's just been such a special part of my story ever since.
Great. Okay, Jason.
Yeah, so honestly, I was, looking at colleges, and I never originally had considered Georgetown. And then just through a family connection, they had kind of a business partner. I went on a tour, and it just felt like the right place to be. And the more I continued to look into things, from finances to what I was going to study, it really just kind of fell into place. And then I found my way back here as a staff member. And yeah, I guess my first staff position, though, I was a tour guide in Johnny's admissions office. So.
I remember, Jason. I remember.
Interesting. Okay, Keppe.
Well, for me, it's like many, as far as when there's a student, like many other students there, had family that had attended Georgetown, right? It's known that happens a lot. And so I had 2 cousins and 2 aunts that had been to Georgetown prior to me going there. So that's why I went as a student. And then after grad school, I always thought it'd be neat to go back to Georgetown, work at my alma mater. Who doesn't want to work at their alma mater? But I didn't think it'd be so quick right out of grad school. But luckily for me, Melody Fuller was in the position before me, and she was stopping out of work, going to be a full-time stay-at-home mom. And then that opened a position. And then to come back and be able to work with Steve Bessesi, who was my mentor, to come back and work with him and work in my alma mater, absolutely couldn't pass up the opportunity. So put me in Georgetown.
Wow, interesting journeys, interesting journeys. Great, great. Okay, our next question, and each one of you all will answer this one as well. What do you consider to be your greatest success during your time as a staff member at Georgetown? And we'll go in the same order of Johnny, Kimberly, Jason, and then Keppe.
So greatest success for me, when you're working in higher ed, you're working in admissions, you're really just trying to help families make a decision on where they're going to be going, where the student's going to go for the next 4 years. So whether they came to Georgetown or whether I work now, whether they came to Georgetown or not, the success for me was at least giving them enough information to make the right decision. If they came to Georgetown, that's a bonus. And of course, we all have goals and budgets, so we have to meet those goals. But I really just wanted to make sure they had enough information to make the right decision. And then on top of that, those connections that I made across campus, I've known people now for 20 years being in Kentucky, and many of those friendships and relationships stem from Kentucky. Stem from Georgetown. And then the other part, many of you know I'm a DJ on the side. So I've watched some of these students grow and mature and marry, and I've actually done several Georgetown graduate weddings. I've DJ'd their weddings. So those connections, the relationships, those I deem as big successes for me. And it's all stemmed because of my connections at Georgetown.
Okay, Kim.
I would say something I'm very proud of is the role I was able to play in expanding collegiate athletic opportunities for women at Georgetown through the introduction of acrobatics and tumbling and competitive cheer at Georgetown. Those have just been awesome experiences to be part of, and I'm very proud of that.
Yeah, I think mine has been, my goal has always been make things very student focused. And I think in stepping into the registrar's role, we've really tried to expand things to the student. And then kind of with that has just been strengthening relationships with other offices. I think, Kimberly, I chat with at least once a day, if not 20 times a day. And, Ms. Robbie, I feel like, we've strengthened the relationship between our offices even. So I just think the more we, invoke that family atmosphere, the more successful we all are.
Exactly. Okay, Mr. Keppe.
Well, for me, my greatest success, of course, start off met the love of my life there, right? So Gretchen was working there as I started working there, and for those that know, Gretchen Lohman was there a little for me, and then she left for a while to work on her PhD, and then came back. Luckily, she was there, and when I started, we met then, and a few years later, we got married. So and our family, starting there, my kids have great memories of being around Georgetown. Talking to someone just today, talking about how they remember seeing my kids in the CAF. And so anyway, so obviously that's a big one. But as far as others, I had so many opportunities just to start a lot of neat things while there. We separated, and let me say, I know I'm supposed to say one. I can't just say one, right? But SGA was one body, and they did a lot of activities. But while I was there, we were able to separate it. So we created GAC while I was there. Started some things. I know these things not all these still happen, but while there, we started Directions, our summer orientation program. Had some great experiences through there. Had our Impact Leadership program and traveled to different parts around the state and had some awesome speakers and some alumni involvement. Had started an intramural program. We were fortunate before I got there. We had a good relationship with the YMCA, but when I got there, I was able to start. We had a great intramural staff, student staff, and able to offer kind of triple our involvement there. We built a rec center while I was there. I mean, just a lot of opportunities when just things were great at a great time to be at Georgetown, and just an opportunity to be a part of a lot of that on the ground floor up.
Great. It sounds like connections and networking was a lot for you guys when you all were here at Georgetown. And that same thing happens, Keppe. Yeah, Direction still is going on. GAC is still here. I think there was another one that you mentioned, but those programs are still going. So it's interesting to hear of all the connections. It creates your journey. Yes. Okay. I got another question for you guys. For all of y'all, I want all of y'all to answer this, and we'll do it in the same order. Let's look at how did you create impact through your role while you were here at Georgetown? How did you create impact through your role here at Georgetown? Johnny?
Yeah, as an admissions counselor, we have to lead the university in recruitment, but I wanted the college to understand that everybody was a recruiter. And so while we lead those efforts, I still needed the faculty to let those students come in the classroom, and let them visualize themselves. I needed the Res Life staff to let them visit dorms. I needed the athletics department and the coaches to talk. So I think one of my impact would have been just talking to everyone and understanding that they all had a role in recruiting and retaining those students. Mm-hmm. We could take the lead on it, but everybody had a role, even if I'm just walking down that main drag at Georgetown and somebody just waving, hello, visitor, that was perfect. That's all I needed. And Jason, I know as a tour guide, you would see people and they would call your name now. And they're like, man, how does Jason know everybody? That serves a role in recruitment. And people had to understand that. So I think, just letting people understand that they had a role every day in the recruitment process was big.
Okay, Kimberly.
For me, early on, I recognized a need for some very proactive and ongoing eligibility review for our student athletes. So for me, it's a constant process of reviewing transcripts, working with our Office of Academic Success, working with academic advisors, professors, Jason's office, to make sure that we are keeping student athletes eligible. And then if they are going to fall below those standards, developing a plan for them so that we're able to retain those student athletes at Georgetown and keep them doing what they're loving and that much closer to graduation. And that is certainly a group effort with everybody on our campus. But that was one thing I really felt very strongly about when I began my role here.
Okay. Jason?
Yeah, so pretty similar. It really is that student focus. I hope to think about this question 10 years from now, that it's giving students the information they need to make those choices that really are going to affect the rest of their lives, and being there when they need it, helping to make sure that we're keeping them eligible, that we're working with them as challenges come up throughout their time at Georgetown. So that's the impact I hope to have right now, and then I definitely want to have, when I look back on my time at Georgetown.
Okay.
Yeah, for me, I definitely looked at what, keeping students first. I looked at, what programs can we develop that's going to better their experience with Georgetown and teach them skills that are going to last a lifetime. So I was able to work with a lot of great leaders through groups like, with our intramural supervisors, our rec supervisors. Our Greek President's Council definitely stands out as a way of lifting impact. I know students on there were able to work with each other, share experiences, some tears, some success, and it's just a neat group. So many of those leadership groups, of course, SGA and GAC, I absolutely loved working with the students through there, and can't leave out IFC and Panhellenic councils. It's just the student groups that I was able to work with and just see them develop, right? Whether through their college experience, and now to go back and see some of the neat, awesome, amazing things they're doing. Of course, usually see that on Facebook, but also just able to talk to students, knowing that a lot of what they're doing now as alums really was a result of their experience while at Georgetown. So yeah, it's great to see that years later.
Right. And I think you all touched it and said it really well. I think Johnny said it at first, but I think it's understanding our roles and understanding how those roles intersect with each other to bring about the successes that we have brought, that we have had at Georgetown. And so I think that it's important for us to know how my role affects Johnny's role, how Johnny's role affects Kimberly, and how Kimberly affects Jason to impact Keppe. And I think that's what Georgetown does very well, is we're understanding our roles and how they intersect to make the next person successful. Because if I'm successful, that means Johnny, Kimberly, Jason, and Keppe are successful. And I think that's what Georgetown does very well, is understanding how our roles connect. It's not what just I do, but it's what all of us do in order to make those 4 years very successful for our students.
Yeah, let me jump in there, Robbie. So
Great.
I absolutely agree, because I think it was, it's one thing that I definitely miss about Georgetown, is that the collaboration that was so easy to get going, right? When we started Directions, it took a combination of different offices, different departments to make that happen. And every year we had faculty go on our summer Directions program, and never had a problem getting faculty to go, wanting to go spend that time 2 nights away from Georgetown at a retreat center. And it just the collaborations that happened, and just so easily. And it was, it's a neat thing that Georgetown has, that I can tell you is not everywhere. So it's
right. And it's interesting that you call it collaboration, but I felt like we just it's almost like we just linked together, and everybody has that same mindset that the student has to be successful. And if that student is successful, then Georgetown College is successful. And so I think everybody has that mindset. And so it's just an automatic link. We call it collaboration, but I think it's just that automatic link that we have. Yeah. Okay. Well, let me ask you this, and I know each one of you, I'm gonna open this up to all of y'all too, because I know all of y'all have a favorite story. So what is your favorite story from your time as a staff member at Georgetown College? And I'm going to flip it a little bit. This time I'm going to let Keppe go first, and then I'm going to let Jason, and then I'm going to let Kimberly, and then I'll let Johnny go. But what is your favorite story from your time here as a staff member at Georgetown College?
All right. So again, this is difficult to narrow down to one, right? It's even if you had to narrow it down just in a 5-year period, I have a tough time getting just one. But one that stands out, and I tell from time to time, is it was our first Directions trip, and we were in Monticello, the retreat center down that way. Had a small group of students our first year for Directions. So again, Directions is a kind of a summer pre-orientation trip. Students can go on. We use a book to kind of guide out of, and we do some team building, and then usually canoeing, different things we do. On that trip, Gretchen had just come back and started working at Georgetown. So she went on that trip as well. Might have been the first one. I think Todd Gamble might have been back on that one. So a few staff, and then 2 peer leaders, and then a bunch of new incoming students on the trip. Had a great couple of days together, different things. And I think it was the last night, so our 3rd night together, somehow said something about Gretchen and I being married. Said something about us married. And one of the students, Allison Cook, said, "Oh my God, I'm glad you guys are married to each other." We hadn't said, when we introduced ourselves, we didn't say, "Hey, we're married to each other." But she said, "I noticed you guys had rings, but you all were acting towards each other like I knew something was going on between you two." And so from that time on, we realized, all right, when we're together, we need to introduce, because Gretchen has a different last name than I do. So yeah, didn't give it away right there. So the students are really, they knew something was going on. So hey, that's good, but they thought something was inappropriately going on. So, one story there, of course, bringing Gretchen into it, but Yeah, so many more stories that Grub Fest and Greek Week and our intramurals that we used to play in alumni gym late at night. And then once we got the rec, more normal time. There's so many great stories. But anyway, I'll just stick with that one for now.
Okay, that's a good one though.
Thanks.
Okay,
I
Mr. Jason.
appreciate that one much, but
We shouldn't have let Keppe go first. I don't know that anyone can top that kind of story. Two things came to mind for this. One is, of course, just working with students, and it's like there's nothing more gratifying than a student you know has had a tough time, and that you guys work together and seeing them walk across that stage for graduation. But something that has stuck with me, I think it was my third year at Georgetown, and I was taking students to Oxford as part of the Oxford program. We had taken a day trip into London, just kind of showing them the lay of the land. We were in the tube station, central London, thousands of people. And someone like bumped into me and had this, like, they said my name. I walked by because I was like, surely someone didn't just say my name or like Georgetown. Well, then they came back up. Turns out it was a former trustee who had just saw that I had Georgetown on my shirt, but it's just like the reach of Georgetown. And as I've talked to so many study abroad students, they had the same thing, like a Georgetown shirt, like on a bus in Germany. And someone's like, oh yeah, my son's uncle's, somebody went there and that's a good school. So I had that, and I kind of had the, whoa, this is really weird. And then the more it happens, it's just kind of what happens with Georgetown. I don't know. That's just always stuck with me as one of those just kind of odd experiences as staff member.
That's a good one too.
I have been fortunate to have so many exciting experiences within my role. A lot of what I do is behind the scenes, but getting to be there for game day, it's just an awesome thing to have as a work duty. And so this isn't a specific story, but I would just say, so I am a cheerleader at heart. I always will be. And you just never quite forget a national championship. So for me, it would be traveling to Kansas City for the 2019 men's basketball national championship. I had the cheerleading squad with me, and although the final game wasn't terribly exciting, it was just an awesome experience. And then to actually see, that was such a special team, and to see several of those guys who are now pursuing a career overseas, just getting to see them do what they love was just an awesome experience.
Great. Okay, Mr. Johnny.
I've got two quick ones. One, so when I first got there, the Cincinnati Bengals still had their summer training camp at Georgetown, and I met Chad Johnson, who was Chad Ochocinco, and he drove through in a drop top pink Cadillac with his music blaring, which was crazy to me. And then walking downtown Georgetown, Carson Palmer was just in the subway. And this 6'5" football player, it was amazing just to see NFL guys just kind of hanging out in small town Georgetown. So that was awesome for me. But then the other part that had the lasting memory was we used to call it Lunch League. And a bunch of faculty and staff members would get together in the rec and play ball at lunchtime. And the relationships and the connections that we made, even though we beat up on each other for an hour and a half, was so fun, because then you got to see people kind of let their guard down and just be guys, and like, cause some of the ladies played with, some of the lady coaches, professors, coaches, maintenance staff, kitchen staff, they all came and played. And it was really, really fun. I tried to bring that to my new institution and it didn't last. But we literally beat up on each other for an hour at lunch every day. And then we go off and go about our day, and we had those connections. So I missed that part about it as much. But one of the best things about Georgetown for me.
Yes, isn't that amazing how the Cincinnati Bengals, and then Keppe met his wife, or introduced his wife, since they had the different names, letting the students know that. But Jason going out of the country and being able to connect Georgetown out of the country, and then Kimberly, like you said, the championships, President Jones talks about that championship level education, of the heart and the mind. And just to think about that at Georgetown and all of those things, it makes it worth it. You know, Georgetown is a very, very special place. And so I wanna wrap up a little bit with one final question for you guys. Think about, why should we support Georgetown College today? Why should we support Georgetown College today? And I'm going to run through Kimberly, and then Jason, Johnny, and Keppe.
Sure. So we're blessed with such a rich tradition of history here at Georgetown, but there are just so many great new things happening at Georgetown right now. And I'm just very excited about the renewed vision we have for the college. So if you can't financially support Georgetown, come to a game when we're able to do that, or tune into a game, follow us on social media, share those victories for our students, and talk about your Georgetown story to the younger generations.
When I walk across campus right now, there's just this energy that hasn't been there for a little bit. We're welcoming record classes. We have a lot of new initiatives on campus. Robbie, you, myself, and Dr. Karen McKenzie, we've co-chaired this Inclusion and Kindness Task Force. So I just think we're on this edge of so many great projects in Georgetown. And overall, I think there's a lot to invest in and support. And like Kimberly said, whether it's with your presence on campus, or maybe if you're an alum and can help us as we help our students navigate, the crazy world that is everything right now. Every kind of support really does help us take everything to that next level.
Yeah, I've been working for higher ed and small private education for 20 plus years. And I think there's a place for that kind of education. And Georgetown gave me an opportunity to have a connection with so many different people, have an effect on student lives. And that's why you support it, because the experiences that the students are going to have are lifelong. They're not just going to leave them in Georgetown, Kentucky. They're going to take them with them wherever they are. So that's why you support a place like Georgetown.
Yeah, it's all that is great. I mean, I definitely miss Georgetown, and the reason I miss it is I think a lot of reasons why I think people should continue to support it. Right? It is having that small community. There is definitely care, and let me say I've been gone for a few years, right? But still connected with a lot of folks still at Georgetown, and I know things have not changed that much. Hasn't changed that much from when I went to school there. Gosh, now almost, it's crazy, almost 30 years. But it's just that it's still that close feel, right? That connection. I mean, people truly care when students are there. If they're having a challenge, faculty and staff know it, and they not just know it, but they act on it. And just that compassion, that care, that it's real. And also just the opportunities, for a small school, there's so many opportunities to be connected. And again, that connection is what helps students graduate, right? You got to be involved. If a student is not involved, they're not going to graduate. And there's research behind that. So Georgetown provides so many opportunities to be involved and make that connection. And, it's going to lead to graduation and lead to great stuff. So yeah, I don't think things have changed much, right? So whether you're in school a long time ago or a couple of years ago, the memories you had, I think are still happening there. So that's why I would say support it. That's why I do.
Yes, Georgetown's more than a college campus. It's a community that cares. And we've been that for 20 years since I've been here. So I don't see Georgetown changing. But thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. Thank the panelists, each one of you all, for taking the time out. Thank you all for joining us on Tiger Talks. Thank you all for tuning in and joining and supporting Georgetown College. There are many ways that you can support Georgetown College, such as you can go to gogc.me/give, or you can go to the georgetowncollege.edu website and look for the give button to make your gift to the annual fund. You can refer a student for admissions. You can support our athletics at home and on the road. Follow us at georgetowncollegeathletics.com. You can attend alumni events on the road or back here on campus. You can invite President Jones or other campus leaders to speak at your local service clubs, your organizations, at your church. And again, we ask that You pray for the college and our leadership teams. And this is all for this edition of the Tiger Talks. We thank you. We thank you. We thank you.